Okay, well, hi, Anim Aweh. I'm glad you were able to have this conversation with me today. I sought you out because I'm a therapist, a skincare therapist, and what I provide, or what I like to say that I provide, is lifestyle medicine for my clients.
Mhm.
We're in a time now where mental health, self care is huge. It's almost we're in a revolution for it. It's
Yeah.
neat. And I've been doing this job for a very long time and I really love it because I get to connect with people. But more importantly, I get to help people connect with themselves. Because I am a skincare therapist, I get to sort of teach them how to really go home, create something that's specifically for them, to be able to use therapeutic touch, which is the process of just taking care of your skin to build up
Yeah.
skin strength and integrity. But it's so much more. It is so much more. And I've always known that since I've started. And lately, or in the past 6 months or so, I said, wow, estheticians, beauticians, mental health, we're all the new clinics of the day. You don't need a life threatening disease
Yeah.
to go and take care of yourself. But we've gotten away from that. But I think there's an uprising. And what I love to see initially, what I love to see is therapists like myself, estheticians, massage therapists, beauticians in some way. I want us to be part of the continuum care of health. I
Yeah.
also am licensed in oncology. Aesthetics, and I give skincare treatments on oncology aesthetics. And it's one of my goals to sort of be able to work with mental health therapists and physicians when dealing with the patient so that you truly get a holistic approach to care.
Absolutely.
And that's why we saw you on Instagram. I said, how fantastic, woman of color. First of all, I mean, there's so many dynamics we can plan this, but one of the real
Right.
reasons why I wanted to reach out, because a woman of color, I wanted to get a different perspective, and a truer perspective. It's something that I can relate to personally, but just to hear what you have to say on a general sense of just how mental health plays into what we do, what I
Right.
do, excuse me. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna, it's just a conversation today. And so obviously I do have some questions for you, and we're just gonna rock and roll and just take it organically from here. Um,
Absolutely.
so I'll just start by, can you just tell us a little bit about your career journey and what your personal experiences that have led you to get into the profession of mental health?
Yeah, sure. So I actually got into this field by accident. I thought for the longest time I was going to be a physician, a medical doctor. You know, that was ingrained into me as a child from my father, from my mother. And so I was actually pre-med student, undergrad, but then I got a C minus, I think, in bio, one of my bio classes. And one of the counselors, one of the counselors had told me from the bio department, because I was a bio major, said that maybe you shouldn't major in biology. Maybe science isn't for you. Looking back on hindsight, I should have never listened to that woman, but whatever. My story is my story. And, you know, there was a path ultimately for me already laid out. So then I switched my major over to public health, and which is something that I fell in love with. I just love the preventative aspect of everything. And so I was doing that, doing some health education. I became a certified health educator during undergrad, and just doing lots of education in my community by means of my campus. Even when I was younger, actually, when I think about it, I was like 15 working on osteoporosis campaigns in the city of Boston. So I always knew I wanted to be in a health related field. So fast forward, I graduated undergrad, went into working for the Veterans Administration Hospital in Boston. So I was working for the VA. I was working with a lot of returning veterans who were coming back home and kind of just needing support and getting back on their feet. So I did a lot of outreach work. I did a lot of community service beyond my tourist service, as they would call it at the VA. And I was working with the social work department, and the head of the social work department was just like, "Hey, do you have any plans after you graduate? Like, what do you want to do?" I'm just like, I'm not sure. He's just like, "You look like you're really good with people. You should like totally pursue master's in clinical social work." And I just, at that time, I didn't think that social work could open the doors for all these, like therapy and all these different aspects, because I had a limited understanding of what a social worker was, right? When you think of social work, you think of like child protective services, take away the kids, things like that. And he was just like, no, it's just so much more than that. And so he got me into my program, my master's program. And so that's the rest was history. It was like a divine intervention. It wasn't really ever my plan. And so it's just funny how things work out. Oh, I can't hear you.
Sorry, I put you on mute. It was really never. I said it's always great how God just kind of intervenes and kind of
Absolutely.
sounds like you just took the next indicated step and just kind of let him lead you. And I love that part of it.
Absolutely.
I did not know that it's very similar. I've always done beauty, but for me to come to this spectrum of it and to have
Mm-hmm.
this perspective of it, I didn't see that happening, and it was
Yeah.
because I worked like you were working with vets. I worked
Yeah.
with oncology
Oh,
clients.
wow.
I was the only man in the room, and I was the only black man in the room.
Wow.
And I realized I think we were doing sort of a practice study on clients. We were working at the Hulk Institute, and we had people who came straight out of chemo radiation, and we had to do massages and give them intakes just as I would any other client. And I think then when I was sitting there while my other classmates were working on their clients, I sat there and I realized, oh, okay, this is what I'm going to do, but not in the way that I thought I was going to do it. I thought I was going to be celebrity guy and the fashion. That was my thing. But it's
Yeah.
amazing how your story has brought you into this walk. And it sounds like you really, really are starting to really come into your own with it. Just give me your, how long have you been doing this again?
Ooh, it's been about 8 years now, believe it or not. Yeah. So I mean, I think I got some time and experience enough to say that I'm an OG in this. So I've put in some work, and we'll see what the future brings.
Well, yeah, you've kind of wore a little bit under the umbrella of mental health. It sounds like you had a couple of different umbrellas.
Yeah, so like I said, I was a public health major. I graduated with a bachelor's in science in public health. So health has always been my thing, and more importantly, women's health. So when I went on to my master's, I actually focused my dissertation on Black women and postpartum depression. So we looked at sort of how access to care in terms of postpartum depression care was given in the state of Massachusetts. So it's more of a policy aspect. But what we found essentially, which is generally the story across the board, is that Black women were less likely to be screened. Black women were less likely to get support afterwards. So then, that although we didn't publish, but it definitely is findings that speak to like a lot of healthcare systems across the nation and Black women, how we disproportionately are left behind in many ways. In terms of health aspects, we have the worst outcomes. In terms of like birthings, babies, we have the worst outcomes for our children as well. So it really is like a cycle, unfortunately, a really toxic cycle in many ways, until we bring awareness to it, until we have more providers that look like you and I,
Right.
then it's going to be hard to disrupt those systems that are already in play for our brothers. I mean, our sisters, essentially, and
Well,
brothers as well. They suffer as well,
well, we get into
and that's
that.
why we're here.
We're getting to that in a minute because one of the things that I do is I do have women clients. They have actually helped my career in a lot, but over the past 2 years, I've focused a lot of my services towards men, and because of the lack of education and awareness that men have for their own self-care, and then on top of that, Black men and men of color. Now, I work with all men because I
Yeah.
think all men collectively need this particular perspective, but Black men, because in our communities, we don't do therapy. The therapy is the barbershop. So I had to take my facials to a barbershop.
Oh, wow.
And so that men can start to get used to just having it. And you'd be surprised at the people once you're on their territory, surprised at the men that are comfortable when you meet them on their territory about it. And that's just it. There's nothing meeting them or men and minority men on their territory to begin the conversation. But we're going to talk a little bit more about that because if I start talking about that, we for a minute.
Absolutely.
So just to kind of bring it on back, when it comes to maintaining your own well-being, what does your self-care look like? What do you do? Regimen, whether it's a little bit of beauty and outside.
Yeah, it's definitely a combination of all of that. I'm not as good at working out as I used to be, but I try to be physically active. As far as beauty goes, my skin is very important to me. I've suffered with acne for a very long time, so I know later on we're probably going to get to this. But when we think about like how skin relates to our mental health, things like acne and hyperpigmentation that could really affect a young adolescent, right? That could trigger or perhaps be, early signs for depression for some people, not early signs, but excuse me, early triggers for depression for young people, or even a grown woman like myself, having acne and believing that I'm not beautiful, believing I'm not good enough because of,
Right.
when you think of like European aesthetics and what beauty means and what beauty means here in America, that's the that goes against everything we've been taught. So taking care of my skin, I have a whole routine. I live and die by PCA products, but whatever. And sleeping and drinking lots of water. I'm a big water freak. I like alkaline water. Like I try all the different alkaline waters. That's my thing. It just brings me little peace and joy. And I think that's what self-care is about. It's like doing those little things that make you happy in that moment. And they bring satisfaction and joy to you and to you only. It's not about anybody else. It's about what brings you that fulfillment for yourself.
My point exactly. What I do in the skin, in terms of skincare and education of skincare, and why is it so important, and why is it so impactful to your life? It's what I do just by showing you. I'm helping you get a connectivity with yourself, taking
Yes.
actionable steps on a daily
Absolutely.
basis to get connectivity with yourself. What I provide in the treatment room is sort of therapeutic touch. You get a
Right.
massage, you feel good, you relax. I'm just showing you how to do that at home for yourself, because
Yeah.
it is a daily practice for you to start to learn to take care of yourself if you've never come from that. And by
Right.
just having a skincare regimen that shows you that within 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, you're starting to touch and feel yourself and do these
Absolutely.
things, and sort of it'll lead you to the next thing, right?
Absolutely.
And so this is what I try to explain to men who have never been to a mental health therapist, men who have
Yeah.
never been to the doctor. Most men don't even want to go to the doctor
Oh
because
yeah, they fight it.
there's an invincibility factor, because men are taught in our
Yes.
society, and mostly in our society, I would say America. I can't really speak for other countries, but I think it's a little
Mhm.
bit outwardly too, that a man is supposed to compartmentalize his emotions and what he feels and how he should take care of himself and how that should look. And I think it's
Absolutely.
false, and it's been a detriment to the community of men, and it's been a detriment to the families, to the wives, to the children. It's
Absolutely.
just look where we're at because of it. Because
Yeah.
when you really get down to the nuances, the nuance of where we're at and why the world has been where it is because men have decided what they are and what they're not, and they have suppressed and oppressed their own selves first,
Mm-hmm.
and then everyone else. So what I get to do, I get to bring skincare into the game. Take care of
Yeah.
yourself. It is self-image. It
Yeah.
is self-care. It is about building skin strength and skin
Yeah.
integrity. It's your first line of defense. It's going to be with you for the rest of your life. So once I get that initial basic step in first, it starts to start a conversation going. But here's my next question.
Absolutely.
So in your experience,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think what's the link between skincare and mental health? Like, if now that I've explained to you what I'm doing,
Yeah.
if you had to talk to your clients about it, what's your perspective on how self-care and personal care and mental health?
Yeah, I think it's all interrelated. One of the things that automatically jumps out to me is like the stress, right? When we're under an extensive amount of stress, for some people, you begin to see sort of the effects through your body. You physically begin to see, how stress can impact you. So that can be acne, cystic breakouts, that can be high blood pressure, that can be, you know, just not feeling good, having headaches all the time. So literally our body is like, and that's the beauty and wellness and holistic care, right? We're focusing and targeting all those different dimensions of our bodies. So I think it's just important for folks to understand how everything interrelates. And so by taking care of one, it encourages and promotes us to, or hopefully that we will continue to take care of other aspects of ourselves or our bodies and our care, our mind and our body, and making sure that we focused on the two, not necessarily as separate entities, but as one. And so I think that's the beauty in what you're doing, and the work that I'm doing as well, is that making sure that people can see the holistic person, the whole person, and not necessarily treating this as separately and neglecting that, and just bringing it all together.
Yeah, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And I
Absolutely.
tell people that. I'm going to tell on myself right now. Yeah, so I was sharing with my marketing team. Last week was a hard week for me. It
Yeah.
was a hard week for me, in the sense that I'm blessed on one end in this environment where I'm not really concerned about business or money. I have support, but trying to handle everything and manage everything still, and with uncertainties, and still just trying to rise above that, I became emotionally tired, overwhelmed. But I found myself slipping, even though I've been through therapies. I'm in recovery still, 4 years. I
Wow.
still in the program talk to people on a daily basis. I have to do a daily practice of how do I get out of the rut. But last week was so hard.
Yeah.
It was harder because I realized I can no longer ignore this anymore. I can
Yeah.
no longer push through, because I'm usually a worker. I'll push through.
Mm-hmm.
Most men, we push through, we
Yeah.
power through, we neglect our eating, we neglect da 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 da. And I said, you can't do this anymore. This no longer serves you. That particular way of thinking, being, and acting towards yourself is no
Yeah.
longer going to serve you. I physically felt it in my body. Now, I know that every man may not even experience that, but I
Yeah.
think now men are starting to get a clarity.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable for them,
Yeah.
about how they see themselves. And I just I'm bringing that up to say, even now I still struggle with it. I still
Mm-hmm.
struggle with it. I just shared it with my marketing team today, and I had to admit, like, I'm blessed, but I'm still pushing through certain things that have held me down, certain ways of
Yeah.
thinking. What I do to feel better a little bit, for me personally, I got myself together for this call, and just getting myself together for this call snapped me out of it. But I've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
It may not have the same effect on everybody, but at
Right.
least for a second while I'm doing this, I stop thinking about what's happening, and I
Mm-hmm.
become present. So this is how I get to bring that up. But I also have had tools of mental health therapists like yourself help me, like I said before. But let me just keep going. Sorry, I got off on a tangent.
It's okay. I mean, that's a practice, that's a skill. And I think it's important to highlight that, we've been conditioned to think a certain way. We've been conditioned to handle and just go about things. And one of the things, especially as Black people, we just push through. We just push through. And, sometimes it's okay to slow down and listen to
Don't
your.
push through, and please don't complain, especially
Yeah,
going
don't
back.
tell anybody, suffer in silence. Those are all messages that we've received. And so when you and I are having conversations like, oh, why don't people get help? It kind of makes sense why they don't, right? Because these narratives have just been played out over and over from generation to generation to generation. It's like up to us to have these open, candid conversations so that people can see us and just like, oh, okay, maybe it is okay to get help. This brother's telling me he got help. This sister's telling me she got help. Like, we want to normalize it for our people as well. So I think this is part of it. This is the beauty in these conversations.
Yeah, and they're happening a lot. I have a
Yeah.
men's group, and I love that they're having. Actually, going to be doing something later with some Black men who are also gay as well, because we have
Nice.
our own situation within the situation. It's really
Absolutely.
about compartment. We To get to the broader spectrum, we have to compartmentalize our own little, like your women's
Oh,
group, gay men,
right.
right? Heal each other, and then go into the communities and try to
Right.
overall work it out as best as we can. So I'm going to bring you back to this next question, speaking about
Mm-hmm.
social construct, right, and
Yeah.
masculinity. So
Yes.
just as with skincare being feminine,
Yeah.
Perception of therapy can often be cultural, like we just talked about.
Yeah.
It's a no thing. God will take care of it.
Yeah.
Suffer in silence. You know, what are the common challenges and or misconceptions you face among Americans, particularly men, when it comes to mental health? How can we change that? And I know you can
It's
break it down.
it's the common challenges is exactly what you kind of mentioned, like, or what we talked about earlier. This hyper masculinity doesn't allow for people, for men in particular, to talk about their feelings or to acknowledge that they are even feeling something. And again, we get those messages were ingrained into the young boys from an early age. It's funny, I actually wrote a children's book about this. A young boy named, the book is called Elijah Was Brave. And so essentially, I wrote it because I saw just that when I was working with kids. I saw young boys just internalizing their feelings and internalizing their struggles. And then it manifested itself into fighting or picking on one another. And so they were unable to articulate their feelings. So then it just turned into aggression. And
Yeah.
that's what I saw. And that's what you continue to see, unfortunately, even with grown adults, grown men. And so it's that challenge. So if we can normalize again that for young boys, it's okay to feel a certain way. It's okay to, have a day or a moment where you're feeling sad and to talk about it. So the book essentially takes you on a journey about this young boy struggling with his feelings, but then opens up to his family and then introduces them to family therapy. That's an ideal world. Obviously, that's not what we see every day with our clients. So what I just want to create a safe space for both men and women. It's a challenge because we have to undo a lot of the way that we've been trained to think about therapy, and sort of normalizing what therapy is, demystifying what their preconceptions or pre notions are about therapy. So is it, and it doesn't help with the media when, I think about Brandy's new video. What's her song called? I don't know. It's called
One
something.
where she's
But
dancing on the car.
no, I think so. And she's in a psych ward, and she just illustrated the worst possible illustration of a psych ward. And I actually reached out to her online, but obviously it didn't get to her. But when you see images like that, that's when you get scared about getting help. That's what deters you from actually going to seek help, because you see the most extreme image ever out there in the media, and when it's not accurate. So it's up to people like me, you, to kind of continue like normalizing what it is, like helping people kind of see like, hey, I went and this was my experience. Like, I can share with you if you have any questions, or book a consultation call with me. It's free. It's 15 minutes. I can answer any questions that you may have. So those are sort of the resources that I have for people to kind of help, ease some of that tension and anxiety about, stepping into therapy or getting help.
Do you think, especially with men, I know most women can be, I mean, for the most part, can be in touch with their emotions because they are given a free pass
Some.
to some. Trust me, I know,
Yeah.
I know. But hypothetically,
Yeah,
generally
yeah,
speaking, right?
yeah.
Most women are they're allowed. They're allotted to feel.
Yes.
Most men are not, so they're not even aware. I thought, because I'm such a people person, that I was very emotionally articulate. I was very emotionally intelligent. I was very emotionally mature. I was so closed off, and I used my smile and my personality to
Mm.
hide. But I didn't just hide it from you. I hid
Yeah.
it from me, because when you would ask me, "How are you doing, Lashelle?" I'm fine. I
Yeah.
thought I really was fine. Some things just came up this week in this time that I was telling you, that these emotional things that have been coming up for me.
Yeah.
And I've just been allowing myself to feel the feelings, not really trying to fix them, not really trying to deny them. There's so many myriad of feelings now that I don't
Yeah.
know what's what. And so I'm just letting it come up so that I can identify them. But I didn't even know. Do you think that still there's a lot of men out there who are just unaware, uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, of their
Absolutely.
own, that they
I
even would begin this conversation? Talk to me a little bit about that.
even in the dating world or being with a guy, I had a guy that I was with, and he would just, any sentiment or feelings that would try to come up, he just automatically shut down. That means not speaking for a couple of days. And we all know communication kills a relationship, or lack thereof, right?
Yeah.
So like, he just shut down and shut me out. I'm just like, this cannot work. Like, and the man is Caribbean, so like he refuses to get help. He refuses to speak to anybody because again, it's that idea that was ingrained to us that we don't speak about our issues outside of the house.
Does
A
he think he
man,
has an issue, or does he think his behavior is okay?
he thinks it's okay. He thinks it's
That's
normal. He
what I'm
thinks it's
talking
justified. And that's part of the issue, right? And unfortunately the thing is like until a person like truly wants help or wants to accept that they actually might need help, we cannot force nobody can force an individual to get help. Or to have it truly be impactful and like, you know, make a difference in that person, it has to be for them. It has to be something that they accept for themselves. And so when you have a man who just like thinks that's okay and that's the norm, it's kind of it sucks. And like I don't advise girlfriends to try to be any man's therapist because that's not your job. That's
right.
too much work.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you the amount of times I get calls from young ladies trying to force their partners into therapy. I'm just like, man, that you know that's just not how that works. He has to consent. So it definitely grown men I'm talking. So we definitely still see it play out.
Yeah, a lot of men. When I first got into therapy, I wanted to do the work because I knew, but I didn't realize how hard some of it was going to be. Once you
It
start
is.
to face, once things start to come up and you're asked to face these particular behaviors and patterns, the work that really goes into that. For me, I thought it was going to be overnight. I realized it was not. I
Mm-mm.
think most men, especially when you become an adult and they start to see that mirror, they realize it's going to take them a lot of work to do a lot of rewiring of some really
Oh yes.
narrow-minded behavior. For the most part, I'm going to say
Yeah.
narrow for the negative stuff. Um, and so I know that that work is really hard. And yes, you have to make a commitment. Even with my clients, even with male clients, I meet them right where they're at.
Yeah.
I don't force anything on them. I let
Yeah.
them know this is what I can provide. This is some of the benefits. I'll speak to them on some of the overall impactful things that it can have on your life outside of your self image. And I give them a choice. Hey, if you'd like to come and give it a try, and I always let them know it's not about me doing a service on you. It's
Mm-hmm.
about me doing a service on you so that you can see the things that need to be taken care of, and then you going home to practice on that because it becomes a partnership.
Absolutely.
So kind of quasi, I'm kind of like lightly
Yeah.
treading the waters of opening doors for persons like yourself to go, okay, 6 months down the line, he's like, now he's opening up, we're talking. Hey brother,
Yeah.
have you thought about seeing someone that you could talk to about that? I think
Yeah.
men right now just are starting to create safe spaces and still
Yeah.
looking for more safe spaces. So I feel that we're in a good space for it now. I think they're less closed minded about it. And so
Yes.
I'm going to keep having these conversations. I can't wait to have it with a whole group of men who are new to this and want it.
Yes.
It's
Can't
fantastic.
wait to see that.
Yeah. So, in your experience, how do women, oh, yeah, how do women and men approach therapy differently? And I have something to say about how women don't help men with this. But go ahead.
Yeah. How do women and men approach therapy differently? That's a good question. I think women are more, for the most part, not everyone, are a little more open to the fact of, you know, this concept of healing and getting better or just gaining awareness around some sort of destructive behaviors. And I'm not saying everybody isn't at that place, but I think women are more open. Like I gave you the example about the young woman who called and I get lots of calls again from women who want to go into couples therapy and want to drag their partner in there. So I think women are more willing to get help and accept the fact that they may need help. Like we said earlier, men are a little more reluctant because of, you know, social norms, of masculinity. I don't get help. I don't speak about my issues outside of the home. I'm a man. I can handle it. I'm good. So they're a little less open to the idea of speaking to an outsider about, you know, their problems or getting help. Because a man is supposed to be good, right? He's supposed to protect his family. He's supposed to just
It's
have
the
it all together all the
invincibility.
time, and that's just not reality.
Oh,
Um,
I'm sorry.
so no, it's okay. No, I just think it's just I think, and again, it's not everybody, but overall, from what I see, I think women are a little more forthcoming in the idea of getting help or recognizing with themselves that I don't feel good. I may need to speak to somebody.
Okay, so let's unpack this a little bit more and go a little bit deeper. So,
Okay.
so that's men and women on a general whole. Like I said,
Mm-hmm.
men have always played the invincibility factor, and that's what it is to be masculine. But in Black culture,
Yeah.
my take on it. I'm a gay man.
Mm,
Okay. And I love being a gay man. And one of the reasons why I used to say I love being a gay man, is even when I was younger, is because I can embrace all my emotions. And I love that about myself.
wow.
I watched men in my family who weren't able to do that. My father was pretty open, emotionally open, but and that was nurtured in our particular family, not everywhere that we were around. But with
Mm,
black men, I had to remember, oh, wait a minute. In the world, our image is demonized,
mm,
sexualized, oppressed, not
that's true.
respected. So there's already that sense of that. So as a man, you're trying to hold on to something that gives you confidence and pride as a man and strength. By nature, we are passionate people and have a certain type of strength that needs to be expressed. But the world has told us you can't do that. And if
Right.
you do that, these things are going to happen. So what happens in our communities is that over and they adapt this sort of masculinity that is sort of hyper, like you said, hyper masculinity, but there's something else there too. um, the role models of what that looks like comes from almost the anger, I would say,
Yeah.
from all the oppression and things
Yeah.
have shaped that masculinity as well.
For sure.
They really have not been able to express themselves. Now let's take it back to what I do for a living.
Mm.
um, I see all types of men. I have clients who are Caucasian, I have clients who are Asian, yada yada.
Mm.
I have very few clients who are African American. Now, African American men they'll shop by Gucci, you know, the cologne, the look,
Dior.
they like the look, they like the self image. If we start doing our history on who we are, that is
Yeah.
part of us. That's culture to us. It's not
Yeah.
fashion is not trend. It's a part of our culture and heritage because it meant
Absolutely.
something.
Yes.
And men, black men, when you talk to them about just taking care of their skin, the repel that I get is the same repel you probably get when they say, hey, why don't you go talk to somebody?
Yeah.
Whether it's verbalized or whether it's internalized, it's there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
One of my goals, along with continuing care, is to bring what I do into our communities for young black men to see that this is a profession for them. These
Yeah.
things that they can do for themselves. Some of them won't have the best health
Yeah.
care. And I'm not a physician,
Mm.
but the psychological, emotional aspects of what I do through therapeutic touch and just the exchange can really at least bring them into the room.
Yeah.
So I know that men tend to approach mental health differently because I know,
Yeah.
and reluctantly, because I know how they approach grooming or beauty services.
Mm.
If it's not something exceptional or an event, or they don't see it as a necessity or a priority to their lives.
Yeah.
And
I think it all just kind of stems back into this like masculinity and what it means to be a man and what it means to be a boy, and we have to reshape that, or we have to change the narrative around that so that it can become more inclusive and accepting of like other ways of presenting yourself. And it's okay. It doesn't mean you have to question who you are or be less of a man or anything like that. Anything that people are afraid of, whatever's holding them back inside. And so I really feel like a lot of this just kind of roots to that sort of masculinity piece and what it means to be a man or even a woman, right? For in terms of accepting therapy or going out to see someone like yourself. um, we really have to redefine and reshape what it means to be either or if you identify within the binary, what that means and how
tell
you show up.
tell me some of the things that you say. I mean, I don't want to get too far into what you do everybody's different and every situation is different. Well, what are some of the ways that you help them men navigate? How, what are some of the tools that you give them?
Yeah. I think with it depends who's showing up, obviously, but particularly with Black men, it's giving them an opportunity and most importantly, we want to create a safe space. The world out there is not safe for a Black man, and so when you're coming into my office or you're seeing me or you're working with me one to one, I want to create that opportunity where you feel safe, you feel validated, you feel affirmed, you feel like, wow, I can really get in touch with whatever that stuff that I was feeling all those years that I had never had an opportunity to kind of reflect on or talk about. So I really want to create a safe space for Black men where they know that, again, this is your space, this is your opportunity. Let's explore some of these patterns or these behaviors or these ways of navigating the world that hasn't served you. Let's re-examine that. And so I think safety is the biggest thing, especially for Black men. And not, I can't even just say today, because like the history of this country has just shown that it's never been safe for Black men or Black people in general. So that safety is important for me. And when I think about, patterns and familial patterns and having them observe that, because I always say this, like, whether you believe it or not, you will recreate the same patterns that your family did if you don't gain awareness and if you're not committed to changing it. Now, for some people that can be great. For some people that can be problematic, right? We don't, and so if you want to change that trajectory, if you want to change those patterns, if you want to do better, even not even just like from a mental health aspect, from a physical health aspect as well, right? When we talk about, oh, diabetes running my family, hypertension running my family, well, that's because we didn't address some of those issues. We internalized everything. We just kept everything inside. So if you literally want to make that change and you want to kind of understand where those patterns come from and how they develop, and if you're committed to making the change, most importantly, then come sit in my chair.
I'm gonna need a session with you, even though I've done therapy. I'm always listen. I enjoy it. As a person who uh, gives services in this way and speak to people and listen to people, I need a space to go to. So I'm
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even me when I was in therapy, it was just, I went to a Mexican woman, and some people who say, they want to see Black therapists only. That's fine. Do whatever works for you. But like, I found myself most productive with this Mexican woman, and she was just like, Anim, you have to be committed to sort of making new memories. So I went in after a terrible breakup. My life was destroyed. I thought, like, I was depressed. Like, when you talk about depression, classical depression, I was in the dumps. Like, every day I thought about dying. Um, but she just helped me like restructure how I was looking at myself. Now I don't even, the way I talk about myself or the way I talk about that story, I don't play a victim in that story anymore. It's just so powerful the way that we can restructure our thoughts and our memories, and it was just so powerful. And so for me personally, I can speak from that personal aspect, not only for just being a provider, but actually going and sitting in the chair and doing the work. And so the work is hard, but it's meaningful, it's impactful, and it's,
being
if you
open.
wanted to, it will make those changes that you need. Like, I wouldn't stand here before you as the woman that I was 10, 15 years ago, that depressed person. So I know firsthand that if you're committed to doing the work, it can make those changes, it can make those differences that you need.
You became the change you wanted to see in your life.
Oh my God. I
I
can't even believe it sometimes.
Yeah, and that's God as well. But you also was open and willing to do the work. And this is what I
Seriously.
see. Like I, I became the man that I wanted to date. One,
That's
um,
good.
because I was looking for validation through other things, and because I
Mm,
didn't think that I had that self worth. So if I dated someone, or if I had this job, or if I had this particular
yeah.
whatever it was, fill in the blanks,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that would make me feel better. But therapy, as well as just so many myriad of things, recovery, my own personal work, working with my clients, talking to them,
Mm,
it sort of helped really cast and
yeah.
help shape me. But I'm not gonna say, because I'll, like I said, we'll go on forever. I have two more questions I want to ask you.
Yeah.
Okay, so how does the physical ritual of skin body care affect our brain and mentality?
Oh, that's a good question, actually. So how I think when you do those acts of service for yourself, when you show up for yourself, that self care for yourself, I think it's for your brain, you're not only are you releasing that serotonin, but you're also just telling yourself and reminding yourself that you're valuable, you matter, and just taking the small time out of your day to just do those simple acts of service for yourself. I think it's a form of self-care, and we all know self-care is a buzzword these days, but it really is impactful for yourself to be committed to caring for yourself and showing up for yourself and doing the work for yourself. And I don't think we can undermine, whether it's skin, whether it's body, whatever it is. Those are all impactful, and they all add up in meaningful ways for yourself. And just holding yourself accountable towards something, like making a goal of something, and holding yourself to it. And so I think that's just one of many ways that you can show up for yourself.
Yeah, that's the word right there. Accountability, self-accountability. We forget about that. And that's not a bad word.
Yeah, we owe it to ourselves.
You can't give anybody else anything you don't have.
Exactly.
So you get up in the morning and you start cooking breakfast for the kids, and you start off to work somebody else's job, and what have you done for yourself besides throw something in your stomach and you went on your way?
Yeah.
Take care of yourself, right? So one of the last questions I have, the last question is, what are some of the signs we should look at? First, I'm reading my notes down, so I'm going to tell you I'm cheating right now. What are some of the signs we should look at for that signal it's time to try therapy, meditation, or holistic wellness? So give me some signs that you would probably say, hey, man, because there's some things that I do. Like, I go on people's behaviors, but you first.
Yeah. So one of the telltale signs is usually sleep impairments. And this can be either you're sleeping way too much, hyperinsomnia, or you're not sleeping at all, insomnia, right? Sleeping, usually those changes in our sleep pattern usually is an indication of something. It may not necessarily be mental health, but it's usually an indication of something that's keeping you up at night. Changes in appetite, again, is another behavior. You're either eating a lot or you're not eating at all. You're finding yourself somewhere either end on the spectrum. Short fuses, with everyone being remote, everyone being home, a lot of people are stuck with their families and they're not used to that. So they're finding themselves to be a little, quick to anger more than usual. That's definitely an indication for some people. Okay. I would say, what else? I think those are the big three for me.
Okay. No, I need to see you. No, because the sleep ain't been that great. And the smile on my face is, showing gratefulness through a myriad of just things I'm just trying to balance. And it can just be a lot stressful. So I'm glad that you said those things, because it's an affirmation of, okay, Lashelle, let's look at talking to a professional. So I appreciate that. And I'm sure that when viewers see this, they'll identify as well.
Yes.
And so just for the guys out there, all guys out there, what do you want to say to them about this thing of lifestyle medicine and therapy and what we're doing right now, and why it's very impactful to them? Like, leave them with something so that they know, that it's okay.
Yeah. I just want to say, like, I want to normalize, I just want to validate the fact that there is just so much going on in this country, in this world right now. And we've been told a lot of messages of how we present, how we have to show up. We have to put on all these different hats, and we have to pretend to be all these people, whether we're at work, we're in the board meeting, we're driving our car. Like, we can't, I think in so many ways, we're unable to show up as our true authentic selves. And so by coming to therapy or seeing an esthetician or having these safe spaces are important for us, so that we can show up as our true selves, or at least have that safe opportunity to sort of just decompress and just let it all out. Because holding that all in, again, I'm a big proponent of understanding how our physical health impacts our mental health and how it's all interrelated, but holding that all in will only lessen the lifespan, if I can be truly frank. And we want you here. We want to build future generations. We want to, we need you here. So we want you to take care of yourself ultimately. And so to the brothers that are watching, I hope you listen to this interview, and if something resonated, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm sure Lashelle is the same way, reach out to him as well. There are therapeutic elements in everything that we're all doing, and so we ultimately do this because we want to be there for you. We want to expose you guys to a different way of kind of approaching or looking at life. So utilize us. We're here, and that's what these professions are about, to better serve you all and to empower you all and to make you feel safe and important, most importantly. And just as Black professionals, like, I can't undermine, there's not enough of us. And so, having these conversations, I hope you found this useful and helpful.
It's healing the community, man. I mean, not just
Yeah,
our communities. I feel like we need to start at home first to go out into the world. But
absolutely.
I appreciate you saying that. I really do. Can you just tell us how to get in touch with you
Sure.
if we need to book? I personally am going to book with you. I have your email. If
Well,
anybody
if anyone's
interested,
interested, yeah. Well, I'm on Instagram at Anim Aweh, all one word. I'm on LinkedIn, Anim. I'm on every platform, Anim Aweh. My website is Anim Aweh. That's ANIMAWEHLCSW.com. So if anyone's interested in booking that free 15-minute consult, it's free. Just book it on my calendar. Let's get on the call. Let's talk about what some of your concerns are, or let's demystify whatever you think therapy is about or mental health care is about. We can talk about that for 15 minutes. And the other thing is, I know therapy can be extremely unaffordable for a lot of people, unattainable. And so I'm willing to work with a lot of people. I understand people have a lot of different situations going on. So that I do offer a sliding fee scale. So let's talk, and follow me online so that you can learn different ways to approach it, different questions to ask different therapists. So there's lots of information that I post on my page that I hope you guys find helpful and take advantage of, because I don't do this for nothing. I know the struggle's real out there. So hit me up.
I love that you offer a way of showing them how to approach different therapists. I always tell clients, I say, if you don't come see me, you should at least know these things. I
Exactly.
equip them with tools for themselves, about themselves in the grooming realm, so that if you don't see me, at least you have a knowledge of yourself, so you can ask the particular right question to get the things that you need from other practitioners in the field. So I think that's great that you offer that. And I'm so grateful that we did this today. And I hope I get to see you on, I hope we get to see you on Halo Loop soon. Did you speak to Michael?
Just invite me. I didn't talk to him about it, but let me know.
Okay, good. No problem. I think we already setting something up with you. So I appreciate you so much. Really,
Thank you so much.
I actually, I appreciate you. I'm going to talk with you afterwards, because I think I sent Michael the email that I was sending out so I need to handle that right now. So
okay, no worries.
Okay, because they reached out for me for you. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Anim, thank you so much.
Stay in contact.
Oh no problem. You're about to get it right now. Thank you.
All right, take care.
Good day. Be well.
You too. Bye.
Bye.